As the autumn sunlight began to slant westward, Jennifer Wilson returned home after viewing a new property listing. When she opened the front door, the breeze filtering through the maple's red leaves cast pleasant dappled shadows in the hallway. Her home, surrounded by understated beige walls. In the well-tended front yard, seasonal chrysanthemums bloomed in a variety of colors. "I'm home," she called out, but it seemed no one had returned yet. In the quiet house, she began preparing dinner as usual. As she took out ingredients for meatloaf from the refrigerator and arranged them on the counter, her eyes happened to fall on the family photos hanging on the wall. In one of the photos, April wore a beaming smile. It was taken the day she won the choir competition. A white blouse, black long skirt, and a gold medal gleaming on her chest. As Jennifer gazed at her daughter's proud expression, her hands stopped moving. Next to it was a photo from their family trip to the Mall of America. April and Nathan eating ice cream together happily. Breakfast at Caribou Coffee, shopping at Target, weekend memories at Southdale Center. Each photograph captured irreplaceable memories. 2 years had passed since then. The sudden farewell still cast a deep shadow over the family's hearts. Though the police concluded it was suicide, none of their explanations made sense. Her bright and energetic daughter, why would she go to the school rooftop? The thought alone made her chest tighten. But the family had been trying to recover in their own ways. Her husband Michael threw himself into work, while their son Nathan gradually returned to school while receiving psychological counseling. Their son, who had refused to attend school for the first few months, was now moving forward as a freshman at the same high school. Jennifer herself had emerged from her deep depression with support from the Christ Lutheran Church community. Wednesday Bible study, Sunday Mass, and the church quilting circle. Fellowship with her fellow believers had become her emotional support. She had shed many tears during sessions with the pastor, trying to gradually accept her daughter's departure through prayer. Still, at times, she fondly remembered April's singing voice and piano music that used to echo from her room. The kitchen timer's sound brought her back to reality. She took the hot dish out of the oven and set the table. The aroma of traditional tater tot casserole filled the kitchen. This recipe had been well received at the weekend church potluck party too. Just then, she heard the front door open. "I'm home." "Welcome back, Nathan." Jennifer smiled warmly at her son's voice as she placed the last dish on the table. Her son in his Eastridge High School uniform showed a slightly tired expression, but returned a gentle smile when he saw his mother's face. And as always, she set places for 4. One chair would remain eternally empty. It had become a place of quiet prayer. Dad should be home soon too. The evening light softly enveloped the room, and outside the window, maple leaves dyed in sunset colors swayed gently. The warmth of the heating rose pleasantly from the basement, wrapping the whole house in comfort. Seated at the table, they folded their hands in silence. Tonight too, they would engrave precious family memories in their hearts along with prayers of gratitude. One Friday afternoon, Jennifer was reviewing new property listings in her living room. A new construction in Eden Prairie. A 4-bedroom for young families. Looking at the photos, she naturally remembered when they had purchased their own home. The sound of cheerleader practice could be heard in the distance. Just like that day. Suddenly, the front door opened, followed by hurried footsteps. Looking at the clock, it was 4:10 p.m. It was still shortly after school had ended. Usually, Nathan would stay at school until around 6 p.m. for the math club. Nathan? What's wrong? The moment Jennifer saw her son, her heart leaped. His face was pale, and his whole body was trembling slightly. His uniform tie was crooked, and a button was undone on his blazer. There was an indescribable fear in Nathan's eyes. A mother's intuition told her something irreversible had happened. "Mom, someone put this in my bag." What he held out with trembling hands was a small black USB drive. There were no markings on its surface. It looked like a new, ordinary USB drive with its original shine, but her son's demeanor suggested its contents were far from ordinary. When I went back to my locker, it was in my desk. I noticed it before going to math club. Nathan's voice was hoarse, and his gaze wandered restlessly around the room. There wasn't a trace of his usual composure. She could see sweat dripping from his forehead. "Did you look at what's on it?" Her son shook his head. The gesture was tinged with fear and confusion. Jennifer felt an instinctive anxiety as she sat down at the living room desktop computer. She could see her own hands trembling slightly on the screen. Her heartbeat had become unnaturally rapid. When she inserted the USB, a folder opened automatically. The folder name was Truth. Those letters seemed to leap out at her with an unusual weight. Files lined up in the opened folder. Photos, videos, and PDF files arranged by date. At the top was Truth about April. The cursor hesitated slightly over it. Cold sweat seeped into her hand gripping the mouse. This couldn't be. The double-click sound felt unnaturally loud. Even the ticking of the clock seemed to echo like thunder. The next moment, what filled the screen was familiar handwriting. It was April's diary. Behind the neatly arranged letters, her daughter's suffering was visible. Those rounded letters characteristic of her. The small heart mark she always put above her I.S. Without doubt, these were records written by April's hand. Today too, I was called out by Ashley and the others. I don't want to go to school anymore. But I can't tell anyone. I don't want to worry Mom and Dad. Or Nathan. The pain embedded in each line pierced deep into the mother's heart. With each scroll, new shocks washed over her. The photo files showed April being subjected to violence. The video files included scenes of her being threatened. Everything had been meticulously recorded. Classrooms, hallways, behind the gymnasium. Familiar school scenes suddenly transformed into stages of brutal violence. Mom. April. Her son's muttered words seemed to come from far away. Though he should be right beside her, his voice seemed hazy, as if coming through a deep fog. Trembling fingers grasped her mobile phone. Her fingers dialing 911 felt like they belonged to someone else. The operator's voice echoed hazily, as if coming from underwater. Her own voice explaining the address and situation seemed to come from somewhere else. The clock hands marked time with an unusual heaviness. The doorbell rang 30 minutes later. Two detectives stood there with grave expressions. The senior detective checked the USB's contents. His face gradually changed to a severe expression. The younger detective was quickly taking notes. "This will require reopening the investigation." There was a slight tinge of anger in the veteran detective's voice. As the evening light stretched shadows longer, an unusual tension enveloped the house. On the kitchen range, dinner preparation remained interrupted. The aroma of tater-tot casserole drifted strangely vivid. Everyone seemed frozen, as if time had stopped. Only the sound of the young detective carefully placing evidence in an envelope broke the silence. In Jennifer's mind, her daughter's smile and the horrifying images she had just seen flickered rapidly. The radiant expression in the church choir. The figure standing frightened in the hallway. The solo at the Christmas concert. The video of her sobbing. Memories and images mercilessly overlapped. That accident wasn't an accident after all. The muttered words made the room's atmosphere even heavier. Nathan remained silent, burying his face in his mother's shoulder. His back trembled slightly. Feeling her son's warmth, Jennifer repeated prayers in her mind. In the interrogation room at the Hennepin County Police Headquarters, Megan Parker, sitting in front of the large mirror embedded in the wall, had become almost unrecognizably thin. There wasn't a trace of her former cheerleader appearance. Wrapped in a black hoodie, she occasionally pulled at her sleeves unconsciously. The ice in the bottled water on the desk had melted untouched. "Will you tell us?" Senior Detective Thomas Riley quietly asked. In his 25-year career, he had handled numerous juvenile cases. However, few had shaken him as much as this one. Megan grabbed the water glass with trembling hands, took a sip, and closed her eyes. The sensation of water passing through her throat slightly eased her tension. Since that day, I've been suffering every day. If I had stayed silent, I probably would have, like April. In the viewing room next door, hearing these words, Jennifer's fists clenched tightly. Her husband Michael gently placed his hand on his wife's shoulder. That warmth supported her trembling body. Nathan was staying at his grandmother's house, having taken the day off school. They didn't want their son to accumulate any more painful memories. It started with something trivial. Ashley was jealous of April's singing voice. Megan's voice was hoarse and occasionally broke, but continued with clear determination. It was after the spring choir competition. When April was chosen for the lead role, Megan's testimony revealed the horrifying truth. Ashley Collins, captain of the cheerleading squad and top student in their grade. Behind her perfect resume, she had been the mastermind of cruel bullying. Brittany handled the violence, and Caitlin managed the social media attacks. Samantha was the evidence elimination specialist. She had the teacher's trust and skillfully deflected any suspicions. Megan sighed deeply. I was the lookout. My role was to monitor if April tried to talk to anyone. I really wanted to stop it. But Ashley's terrifying gaze. I was afraid it would be turned on me too. The Digital Forensics Division's analysis repeatedly confirmed Megan's testimony. Deleted social media posts, encrypted message exchanges. Evidence after evidence of how they had cornered April appeared on the screen. And most shocking of all, the final footage of April. The events on the rooftop captured by security cameras played out mercilessly in black and white. Can you tell us about what happened on the roof? The detective's voice became more cautious. The blood drained from Megan's face. After moving her trembling lips several times, words finally emerged. That day, Ashley said she wanted to play one last game. April was made to stand on the handrail. She was forced to pretend to jump. But Brittany from behind, deliberately. "That's wrong." A sudden shout echoed from the hallway. Brittany Smith, being questioned in another room, could be heard screaming, "Ashley ordered it. I was just following orders." The subsequent developments unfolded with nightmarish speed. A large amount of evidence of social media attacks was found at Caitlin Jones's home, while numerous messages directing evidence elimination were discovered on Samantha Brown's smartphone. Data recovery specialists unearthed one buried truth after another. And finally, Ashley Collins. In her Eden Prairie mansion, she maintained a perfect smile. The 3-story white mansion. The porch lined with pillars was lavishly decorated with out-of-season Christmas decorations. From the moment that foolish country girl stole my solo, her fate was sealed. Teachers praised me, parents called me a model student, no one noticed my perfect plan. But that vulgar singing voice wasn't worth polluting my ears. Under the chandelier in the luxurious reception room, her words gradually took on a hysterical tone. That confession was recorded and became the final evidence. The next morning's newspapers widely reported the incident. High school student's suicide actually group violence case, the dark side of prestigious school, details of brutal bullying by elite students, family faces truth after 2 years. The articles occupied large portions of the social pages and shocked the local community. Later, a diary was found in Megan's desk. On the last page of the blue notebook was written, "Writing my college applications, I realized we killed someone. I can't keep silencing April's voice anymore. Telling the truth to her brother is the last atonement I can make, even if it ruins my life." Late at night, Jennifer was praying in her daughter's room. On April's desk, the last sheet music she had used remained in its original position. Mozart's Ave Verum Corpus. Her angelic singing voice still lingered in her ears. January, Minnesota State Court. From early morning, reporters had gathered, and the area around the courtroom was wrapped in unusual tension. As cold snow fell, Jennifer and Michael arrived at the courthouse with their lawyer, Sarah Brown. Media flashes flickered. "Mrs. Wilson," a comment. Reporters' voices flew about. However, Jennifer's mind had already blocked out that noise. She gripped her cross necklace tightly and offered a quiet prayer. The juvenile courtroom was smaller than a regular courtroom, creating a more intimate space. Only selected relevant parties were in the gallery. Eastridge High School officials, members of the victim support group, and several from the church community were seated. Judge Elizabeth Morrison entered. She was a veteran with over 30 years of experience, particularly knowledgeable in juvenile cases. In the matter of the state of Minnesota versus Ashley Collins et al., court is now in session. The prosecution's opening statement began. Prosecutor Robert King started describing the case's full scope in a calm voice. "This case is not merely school bullying. This was planned, organized, and ultimately lethal violence." Evidence appeared one after another on the screen. Photos and videos saved on the USB. Pages from April's diary. And most shocking, the security camera footage recording the events on the rooftop. A heavy atmosphere filled the courtroom. Ashley, in the defendant's seat, was wrapped in an expensive suit, maintaining perfect posture. Her profile was beautifully cold, like a sculpture. Her parents had hired wealthy lawyers and were showing a stance of thorough resistance. This was merely an extension of common pranks among young people, the Collins family's lawyer claimed. The defendants did not anticipate their actions would lead to such serious consequences. However, Megan's testimony completely overturned that claim. Ashley planned everything. Who would use violence, when, and how? How to attack on social media. How to hide evidence. Everything was under her direction. Evidence items were presented one after another. Deleted social media posts. Encrypted messages. Digital forensics expert analysis results. And decisively, Ashley's own confession video. Her maniacal monologue froze the entire courtroom. Lunch recess. Jennifer prayed with her church companions in the courthouse chapel. Lord, please guide us to justice. In the afternoon proceedings, finally came time for Jennifer's testimony. Her figure standing at the witness stand was frail yet dignified. April was a bright, kind child. She loved singing and talked about wanting to become a music teacher. Her voice trembled slightly. But one day, she started to change. Her smile disappeared, she couldn't sleep at night. We parents desperately searched for the cause. But, taking a deep breath, she continued. My daughter was a victim of your cruel acts. Her dreams, hopes, future, everything was taken away. Looking at Ashley. Revealing the truth is my final act of love for her. And to ensure such a tragedy never happens again. As she stepped down from the witness stand, someone in the gallery could be heard softly sobbing. After 3 days of proceedings, the time for judgment came. A tense atmosphere filled the courtroom. Defendant, Ashley Collins. Judge Morrison's voice resonated heavily. This is an extremely serious case. The defendant commanded planned and organized violence over a long period, ultimately driving the victim to death. Considering the cruelty of these acts and subsequent attitude, this court pronounces the following sentence. Commitment to juvenile detention. Furthermore, 7 years imprisonment upon reaching adulthood. Ashley's perfect mask crumbled for the first time. The other defendants received sentences according to their degree of involvement. Brittany, Caitlin, and Samantha received probation. Megan, who revealed the truth, was ordered to participate in a rehabilitation program centered on community service, in consideration of mitigating circumstances. After the sentencing, Ashley's mother confronted Jennifer in the hallway. Because of you, my daughter's life is ruined. However, Jennifer quietly responded, my daughter's life will never return. But this verdict might save new lives. That's what April would have wanted. As they left, the snow had stopped. Under the cold sky, on the courthouse steps, Martha Johnson, the victim support group leader, held a press conference. This verdict will be an important milestone in addressing school bullying issues. However, this is not the end. We will continue our activities to ensure such tragedies never happen again. At dusk, Jennifer visited Christ Lutheran Church with her family. Quietly praying before the altar, gazing at April's photo. My daughter, justice has been served. Your courage will protect children to come. Rest in peace. The setting sun through the church windows cast rainbow light through the stained glass. In it, April's smile seemed to faintly appear. One day in April, Jennifer was placing the first tulips of spring at April's grave. White and purple flowers swayed in the gentle breeze. April, your favorite season has come around again. Michael and Nathan were also offering quiet prayers. The morning sun cast soft light on the three family members. Cherry trees in the Eden Prairie Cemetery scattered pale pink petals. You know, April. Nathan joined the choir. Jennifer's voice brightened slightly. He says he'll sing for your part too. Nathan smiled, blushing slightly. The traces of the former introverted boy had faded, and he had grown into a strong high school sophomore. Just recently, he had performed Mozart's Ave Verum Corpus, the last piece April had sung, at the choir competition and received a special award. I want to carry on my sister's voice in my own way. There was no more hesitation in his voice. The wind swept through. At that moment, they heard footsteps approaching. Turning around, there stood Megan Parker. In her hand, she clutched an envelope. Mrs. Wilson. I came to deliver a letter. As part of her rehabilitation program, Megan had been continuing volunteer work at the local anti-bullying center. On weekends, she visits middle schools to share her experience and work to break the chain of bullying. Inside the envelope was a handwritten note. Dear Mrs. Wilson, I think about April every day. Since that day, my life has changed dramatically. While my days at the rehabilitation facility weren't easy, I understand that this is just the beginning of my atonement. Last week, I gave a lecture at a local middle school. Seeing the students' serious faces, I felt hope for the first time that my experience might help change someone's future. No amount of atonement, even over a lifetime, could be enough for April. But with her memory in my heart, I will continue my activities to help save others who are suffering from bullying. With sincere apologies. Megan Parker. A tear rolled down Jennifer's cheek as she finished reading the letter. Thank you, Megan. She smiled quietly. I'm sure April would be happy too. Tears welled up in Megan's eyes at those words. Meanwhile, the perpetrators were each walking their own paths. Ashley Collins was serving her sentence in juvenile detention under strict surveillance. Even before her visiting parents, she showed no signs of remorse. However, the facility's psychological counselor had discovered deep loneliness beneath her perfectionist mask. Brittany, Caitlin, and Samantha were on the path to rehabilitation under their probation programs. Caitlin, in particular, was actively participating in activities to raise awareness about the dangers of social media bullying, trying to use her experience for prevention and education. The local community had also changed significantly. Eastridge High School introduced a comprehensive anti-bullying program. A student organization called Peacemakers was formed, working on early detection and prevention of bullying. Jennifer herself had changed too. Once a month, she hosts healing gatherings in the church hall. She conducts support activities for children troubled by bullying and their families. Her quiet words reached many hearts. We will not let April's death be in vain. Her memory lives on as new hope. At these words, many participants shed tears and found hope. Michael too was involved in developing anti-bullying applications, utilizing his IT company experience. The anonymous consultation system had already been adopted by many schools and was becoming a trigger for saving lives. Christ Lutheran Church established a music scholarship in April's name. It provides talented young people the chance to fulfill their dreams through music. The spring breeze gently swept around the family standing at the grave. April's photo still showed her unchanging smile. Nathan spoke quietly. At next week's choir concert, I'll be singing April's favorite song. I wonder if she can hear it in heaven. I'm sure she can, Jennifer answered gently. Your sister is always watching over us. Michael embraced his family's shoulders. Come, let's go home. Tomorrow brings a new day. The three quietly left the cemetery. Cherry blossoms fell silently, gleaming in the spring sunlight. April's photo held an eternal smile. The church bells rang noon in the distance. Their tones seemed to herald not sadness, but the beginning of new hope. The sky was clear, and spring clouds spread like angel wings. April's story doesn't end here. It's the beginning of an eternal prayer to protect new lives.